men's seniors open division, featuring players like Nick Mannis and Hill, Chard and Mark Johnson, who makes his way over from Wales for the day. Nathan Hill, who was successful yesterday in the mixed category at senior level, will be teaming up with Ian Marshall, who took home the silver medal with his partner Tracy Walker. Richard Basford and Stuart Stimpson are already in the arena warming up for their afternoon, and Chris Frylink, who took home the silver medal yesterday in the mix, will be partnering Rupert Robinson. Just some of the names, some of the standout teams to reference this afternoon. And then rounding up the day will be women's 50 plus, where Tracy Walker and Marcia Audebert will be odds-on favourites to take home the gold medal in that division. But they'll face competition from teams like Kelly Dawson and Sarah Howell, Sally Grace and Helen Kenner, I'm sure. So, lots to look forward to for the rest of today. But we're very much almost underway here. Simon Farr just asking teams to ensure they shout the score out so we can hear what's going on. So mixed quarterfinals at open level. Harry Feast in the blue top playing with Kayla Graham. The lady standing opposite him across the net, and Rhodri Oliver and Natasha Hood. The powerful partnership of Rhodri Oliver and Natasha Hood. Favourites for this will have to be Hood and Oliver. Once again, thanks for joining us wherever you're watching from around the world. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll give you a mention if you drop a comment into the live chat. Good morning to Jules Donald. So good morning to Pickleball 3N, who's also celebrating the great coverage coming from Basingstoke this weekend. Just congratulating Josh Dye on a nice win. So early exchanges here, Simon, but this got all the hallmarks of one of the great games of the day.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I think you've got to say that Hood and Oliver are probably favourites for this match. It could be a close contest.
Harry Feast and Kayla Graham have become a regular playing partnership together. Great speed up from Oliver to the midriff of Graham. Harry Feast got transferable skills from the sport of tennis. Tells me he's been playing since the age of 4. Yeah, all speed again from Oliver. Now we can see there's no interest from Hood and Oliver in putting that ball into the kitchen. It's all about power and making their way to the kitchen line through driving, Simon.
Yeah, especially when the ball's coming in that high as well. They're going to choose a hard-driven volley, a hard-driven drive rather than a drop shot. Interesting change of tactics there. Try to drop in the kitchen and Kayla puts it into the net.
Kayla Graham's background in sport, quite varied actually, Simon. She used to be a softball player in Canada, winning the British Columbia Provincial Championships in 2011. She also played high-level curling in Canada as well, before representing the Plymouth Mariners in the West Country Baseball League. So not your usual transferable skills there, but clearly got great hand-eye coordination from a background in softball and baseball especially.
Yeah, I think she's still playing softball. I think it's Bournemouth way. I might be wrong though. She just recently moved to Southampton, so that might have changed the circumstances. But she's still, I'm sure she was still playing a different sport as well, which for some people is really useful in terms of muscle development and just getting a break from one sport to another. Personally, for me, I'm not a good enough racket player to play different sports. So I used to play squash and then found that my squash was suffering because of pickleball, then an injury and never went back to squash.
Love to catch Simon Farr on courts regularly at these events as well. Very much an organiser and a player. Loves the sport of pickleball.
Well, I try.
Multi-medalist Simon Farr. So Feast and Graham have just got the lead here. And that's nice from Oliver, who just rotates his right foot opens up his hips and just places that ball behind Harry Feast.
Just shows you sometimes it's not all about the power. If you just put a bit of placement, you can still win a point. And there we are, Mr. Feast demonstrating it's all about the power.
So Hood and Oliver are just under a little bit of pressure here because Feast and Graham, who are a partnership, they've played together a few times now, are just winning the majority of the exchanges. So it's Hood and Oliver who are having to claw back a deficit in that first quarter final.
Graham caught in decision there. She wasn't sure whether to take it out of the air, and then it dropped by her feet and couldn't get it back over the net.
You see one of the other quarterfinals going on in the background between Coots. Sorry, not between Coots, between Wrexham and Hareham, and Anakin Owen and Georgia McCall. And also Sam Anderson and Jeff Wilson taking on Stuart Parminter and Lauren Gosling. That'll be a crackerjack of a game. And further down, it is Rogers and Oakey taking on Bright and Hewitt. So all of the quarterfinals underway here. Hood and Oliver have arrested the momentum of Graham and Feast and gone into a lead in this race to 11. Win by one. Quarterfinal action here in our mixed division for the Tournated Pickleball Cup. And it's Kayla Graham who wins the persistent battle of the forehand diagonals. Just felt there, Simon, and this may be due to inexperience by Hood. just needed to incrementally and slowly work away from the baseline and not be afraid to volley reset that ball. Each time she's waiting for Graham to play the topspin forehand to allow it to bounce, where incrementally just sneak her way forward. That's Harry Feast who misses the ATP attempt there. But yeah, just back to that previous point, just needed to incrementally work her way to the kitchen line.
Yeah, that's the tennis player coming into a pickleball game, isn't it? That you're never going to hit the perfect third or fifth or seventh, but you work your way in. So you'd hope by shot 7, shot 9, you're into the kitchen.
So we've only had one ATP today. That was by Scott Mayo in our first game, and that was missed by myself on commentary.
You've got to let that one go, Nick.
Has just injured himself playing that forehand volley. Either tweaked a muscle, tore a muscle, or irritated a nerve. So a shriek of pain there from Rhodri Oliver, Simon.
Oh, I've been there, mate. I tore my Achilles, and that is horrible when you get an injury playing a sport.
He's got a lead of 3 points, though. How much will that affect Oliver moving forward? The answer is not at all, because he's still able to inject an enormous amount of power into the forehand volley. His stable shot. He seems to be back in action. Okay. Natasha Hood sends that one wildly long on the backhand. Great rescue, Hood. Backhand to backhand, and it's Oliver who gets an enormous amount of backspin. But look at the athleticism from Natasha Hood. Not for the first time today, rescuing balls that we presumed were dead.
Unbelievable athleticism. Look at the shape of her. She really is in great condition.
Yeah, finely tuned athlete, Natasha Hood. And it's Feast and Graham who've just saved the first match point there, so not much pressure on Graham and Feast to stage a comeback. Graham not comfortable with that topspin forehand, just ball catching the line maybe. Nice to see the partnership of Graham and Feast, so sporting the Skechers footwear. Sponsors of the Tournated Pickleball Cup. Footwear of choice for players here this weekend at the Hampshire Court Hotel. So third match point here for Hood and Oliver. And that one goes astray as well. So 3 match points saved by Graham and Feast, who won't give up here. Ooh, and just as Feast looks to serve up the main course, he gets it all wrong.
Close line call, that.
Look at the power from Natasha Hood. Give her time, space, and the opportunity to prepare. And that ball is being fired back at you with high level speed. What a drive from Rhodri Oliver. What a way to win the match. The 4th match point does not go astray because Rhodri Oliver just drives the ball exquisitely down the line. So the favourites to win that game do go through to our semi-final.